They called the world Vernikesh, a dead planet clinging to life with rust-colored sandstorms and the shattered remnants of a civilization long forgotten. War had turned it into a graveyard of technology and corpses. It was the final battlefront in the 3-year-long campaign against the Draxan horde. Corporal Jacob Mercer never meant to become a hero. He was just another grunt in the 107th Colonial Infantry, sent to sweep the outskirts of the fallen Draxan stronghold. The war had ended 3 days ago. Orders were simple: clear out the bunkers, neutralize traps, and recover anything that might help Earth's fragile peace deal with a galactic accord. He wasn't supposed to find anyone alive, least of all a Draxan warrior. Jacob's boot crunched on shattered steel plating as he swept his rifle over the entrance of a half-buried structure. His HUD blinked. Unstable radiation source nearby. Proceed with caution. Another broken beacon, he muttered. No life signs, no wait. He stopped. A faint blip on his motion tracker. Inside, half buried in debris, was someone. And as Jacob brushed away dust and fragments, his eyes widened. It was a Draxan. Not just any Draxan. A highborn, judging by the intricate armor still faintly glowing with rank glyphs. 7 feet tall, mottled crimson skin, and unmistakably warbred. The alien's lower body was crushed beneath collapsed ceiling panels, legs mangled beyond recognition. Its eyes were open, unfocused. One of its 4 arms twitched weakly. Jacob raised his weapon instinctively, fingers tightening on the trigger. But the Draxan didn't attack. Couldn't. It was paralyzed. And it was trying to speak. Middle. No, kill. The voice was a rattling wheeze. Not enemy now. Jacob hesitated. Every instinct screamed to walk away. The Draxans had killed over 30 million humans during the conflict. Whole colonies razed. Families vaporized. They were ruthless, unrelenting, and proud of it. Yet here one lay, broken and helpless. The comms crackled in his ear. Mercer, report. You found something. Yeah, he replied slowly. I've got a damaged tech cache. I'm checking it now. He cut the feed. The Draxan was trying to reach something. An embedded chip in the wall, glowing faintly. A data relay. Jacob scanned it and blinked. The signal was a distress beacon, ancient tech, Draxan language. But embedded within it was a packet labeled Emergency Ceasefire Treaty. Sector 9. Jacob's translator worked slowly. It was a list of Draxan warriors who had laid down arms before the final bombardment. Amnesty agreements. This Draxan, identified as Tkal Vorn, was on the list. You surrendered? Jacob asked aloud, astonished. Call nodded weakly. Jacob looked down the corridor behind him. He could already hear the gunships coming to extract other squads. If they found a live Draxan, they'd put a bullet in its head, amnesty or not. Nobody would save a Draxan, especially a paralyzed one. But Jacob had seen enough death. Too much. He made his decision. He slung his rifle, grabbed a lift harness from his pack, and began clearing rubble from Tkal's body. The Draxan groaned in pain but did not resist. It took Jacob nearly an hour to free the alien's upper body and stabilize its vital signs. He injected a pain inhibitor, adjusted his exoarm to carry the immense weight, and started the long walk back through the storm-racked valley. He didn't radio in again. By nightfall he reached the evac point. Command was furious. You're telling me you carried a Draxan warrior across 10 clicks of hostile terrain? His CO growled. Jacob stood tall. He's paralyzed. He surrendered. And he's listed on their ceasefire treaty. He's protected. Protected. The officer barked a laugh. From us. The Accord won't touch this. They want the war forgotten. And that thing will die in a lab anyway. Then don't send him to a lab. The silence hung like a blade. Against protocol, and after several threats of court-martial, Jacob was allowed to escort Tkal to a decommissioned med facility on the fringe of the colony. A place for forgotten soldiers. Technically neutral ground. Weeks passed, and Jacob kept visiting. Tkal, despite his broken body, was still a warrior. He spoke little at first, but gradually opened up. He'd fought Earth out of duty, not hate. He had lost 2 offspring in the early strikes and had volunteered for vengeance. But as the war dragged on, he had seen something in humans that his own kind had forgotten. Mercy, compassion, refusal to annihilate even when they could. "You saved me," Tkal rasped one day. His voice stronger through the autosynth. "Not for honor. Not for gain." "Why?" Jacob shrugged. "Because you were alive. Because I was tired of death." Tkal chuckled softly. "Strange species, you humans. Oh soft. Oh fierce. You remind me of fire. Destructive. But warm too." Ending. News of the rescue spread slowly. On human networks it was buried. An embarrassment to those who wanted to maintain hatred. But among alien circles, especially in former Draxan sectors, the story of the human soldier who saved a paralyzed enemy warrior began to take root. Whispers became rumors. Rumors became legend. Months later, Tkal's recovery stabilized. While he would never walk again, advanced prosthetics and neurogel interfaces gave him upper body mobility. He began teaching, first other wounded Draxans, then human veterans. Lessons in combat ethics, Draxan culture, and war trauma. Jacob visited weekly, sometimes just to sit in silence. But not everyone was pleased. One night, a bomb exploded at the clinic. 2 human patients died. Tkal was severely damaged again. His prosthetics ruined, his vitals unstable. Jacob arrived just minutes after the blast. He pushed past emergency teams, knelt beside the burned form of the warrior he had saved, and felt a cold rage take hold. His eye flickered open. "Should've let me die." "No," Jacob said. "Not now. Not after everything." And then, as dawn rose over the ruined skyline, Jacob did something that would change everything. He went public. He released the entire recovery footage. His initial discovery of Tkal, the ceasefire treaty files, weeks of conversations, and the story of the bombing. It went viral across human and alien networks. Within days, protests erupted, not just in support of Jacob, but for a broader truth. That peace required painful choices, and compassion in war was not weakness but strength. The Galactic Accord, under pressure, granted Tkal Vorn full refugee status. Earth's military begrudgingly dropped all charges against Jacob Mercer. And the 2 of them, soldier and warrior once enemies, were invited to speak at the first joint Earth-Draxan Veterans Summit. They appeared together on stage. Tkal in his restored chair of alloy and bone, Jacob in a simple soldier's uniform. "I carried him out of that bunker," Jacob told the crowd, "because he stopped being an enemy the moment he stopped fighting. You don't leave people behind just because they're inconvenient. You save who you can. That's what being human means." Tkal's voice rang out steady and deep. "In war we learn to kill. In peace we must learn to carry the wounded, even if they are not our own." The auditorium stood in silence, and then erupted in thunderous applause. From that day on, their story became more than history. It became a symbol. A story of 2 soldiers, one alien, one human, who refused to let war define their future. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose mercy.